So I have the pleasure to have with me today Philippe Tibi. Professor Tibi is professor at Ecole Polytechnique and has been defined as one of the mastermind behind the big progress that France has done over the few years. So I'd like to take the opportunity, Philippe, to understand from you what has been done in France that really work it out and what still has to be done.
I think we started from the point that there was not enough capital to finance ambitious companies in France, and that was the reason why we had so few world leaders in technology. So without capital you don't have growing company and you have even less listed companies. So we managed to, we had very long conversations with French insurers. That's where the money is in France. It's 1/3 of private wealth is lodged in insurance companies in France. And we convinced them to invest 6 billion euros 5 years ago into venture capital funds and global tech listed equity funds. Which is a lot of money compared to the very little that was invested before, but which, in comparison to what is under management is and what is necessary is not enough. But that was a good start because, the thing is with institutional investors in Europe is most of the time they don't know tech, so they don't invest. And because they don't invest, they don't know tech. So that is the vicious circle that we want to extract ourselves from. And then, we found a way to showcase good venture capital funds. They took interest, they invested, and after 3 years, they invested more than what they promised, which is a good start. That's why we launched a second phase, where they promised to invest 7 billion for a program ending in 2026. And now we have more than 100 VC funds that have been homologated, i.e. they are eligible to go after insurance money, 30 listed equity funds. We think that in total, they will manage something like 60, 70 billion euros in 2 years' time. At the moment, it's 40 billion. We think that because of the investment period ahead of us and also the fact that we have very good new candidates coming in, will be there, which I think is good. It's not sufficient, but it's good because I think what we have done is to strengthen the pre-existing ecosystem, and I think it's part of one of your topics, which is very dear to your heart. Technology is also primarily a matter of ecosystem, i.e. People that are good in tech, but also people that are good in investing, the accountants, the lawyers, and all the people that make the hubs like Silicon Valley great.
And in your opinion, probably, I think if I look at Europe, France has probably been the country that has probably the more structured program to support the tech ecosystem, but it's still far away from the global leading ecosystems. And so, in your opinion, what should be still to be done in France, and this model can be also replicated elsewhere? Again, we can have a plan TB for Europe, we have a plan TB for other countries. What's your opinion?
But what we need in France still is more money. People sometimes tell me I'm very simplistic, but I think money is at the beginning of everything. It's not sufficient, but if you don't have money, you can go in the kindergarten and do something else. So we need more money. We need more very big funds. We are pleased by the fact that I think by the end of 2026, we have at least 12 funds that will manage tech funds, that will manage VC funds, that will manage over 1 billion, which is the threshold to be visible for the different funds and the big pockets in the world. We need more of that. It's a question of money. I think now we have the teams that are able to deploy the money, which is a topic which is frequently overlooked. Because money is not enough. You need to have a good governance and the right team to deploy the money in the wiser way. So that's for us. But again, the competition is China and the US. I think they will not take prisoners, like it's the normal practice in geopolitics. So I think the answer to the response to that challenge has to be on the European scale. That is very eloquently discussed by Dr. Draghi in his report. The size of the challenge is by the trillion, and we need to be fairly aware of that. So it's not our job to decide for Europe. What we do at the moment, it's a deep belief for us, is that we should talk with other countries. Not to lecture them. I think every country will do what is consistent with its traditions and ecosystem and so on. But we need to exchange ideas. We are very pleased by the fact that the Germany has announced a very ambitious plan as well. I think 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I think it's a step in the right direction. We see that Poland is really working hard to get something done. We got a lot of calls coming to us from other countries who want to understand what we have done, always with the same idea. The concept is the same everywhere. How do we get private money in the ecosystem? We have got talk, and we're in the process of talks with the European Commission as well. So I think the problem now, or the issue, is really how to implement. And I have a view, but I don't want to preempt what would be discussed to do that at a European scale. I'm optimistic because people want to do things. But what is required is two things: a very strong political leadership to make that mainstream. Because, as you know, in Europe the regulations are hostile to us. Solvency II for the insurance, to name one, is a deterrent to investment in technology and illiquid companies. So technology being at the forefront of that. And the second, so the people need to be encouraged. And some kind of rubber stamping, making people understand we have to do it. It's like having the army or some other things. You need to have that. It's not a point of discussion. And the second issue, which I think is frequently overlooked, is the public money. And that's also well illustrated in the Draghi report, is that the public money seems to be very fragmented from country to country, but also from program to program. When it's done at the EC scale, it is described as opaque by some players. So we need to have something much more visible, determined, and focused. And I think we have the role model of the US, which is very clear. They've done very well. SpaceX would not exist without public money. The vaccines would not exist without US public money. So we need to have a very strong engine with public money, with a strong leadership, with the selection of the right topics. And we need also to have the right people and teams to deploy the money, because there again, it's not enough to have public money. You need to have the right teams based on science that are able to deploy the money where it deserves to be deployed. And I think it's a big challenge. It has really to do with the wisdom of political leadership. And we know it's very difficult in Europe at the time, but we are not going to avoid the danger in avoiding to think about the danger. And I hope that the political leaders will step up to the challenge.
Yeah, because at the end, okay,
No,
we are
running
late
out
into the
of time.
game, and so I think
There are always new things to be done. So we are not going to do the new Google, but on AI, there are a lot of new things that are possible in health tech. There are a lot of things that can be done, and we have very good research in Europe. So I think we should not try to catch up things that have already decided. In reality, we have to invent the new things where we are good at, and the research in Europe is at the level of the US.
and the spirit of Startup Ecosystem Stars Awards is to recognizing what it worked, and I believe what France has done, and also the plan Tibi at work. And so again, since you already have the experience of doing something like that, probably that would be a model of reference for others to follow, rather than reinventing the wheel. That is probably one of the other original scenes that we are.
Again, we don't want to come up with saying it's a model, because that's the sure way of irritating people. I think, again, we're happy to discuss and share.
Again, there is a sharing experience, and you have done totally a good job. Thank you.